The Trump administration is criminally investigating the chair of the Federal Reserve. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Monday, January 12th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Yesterday, the U.S. Central Bank revealed that the Justice Department had opened a criminal investigation of Federal Reserve Board Chair Jerome Powell. The investigation is tied to the central bank's renovation of its headquarters along the National Mall. But in an unusually direct and forceful video address posted to the Fed's website yesterday, Powell accused the Trump administration of trying to pressure the central bank to lower interest rates.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
President Donald Trump nominated Powell to serve as Fed chair during his first term in 2017. But Trump has spent much of his second term attacking and threatening to fire the Fed chief for not slashing interest rates to juice the economy. Powell said the threat of prosecution would not interfere with his service as Fed chair. Number 2. Hundreds of protesters are feared to have been killed in Iran. Anti-government demonstrations broke out across Iran late last month. Iranian authorities shut down access to the internet on Thursday night. Since then, rights groups based in the U.S. say they have received eyewitness accounts and credible reports that hundreds of protesters have been killed. These are some of the largest anti-regime protests Iran has seen since the Islamic Republic was founded in 1979. They began over economic grievances, but have escalated into calls for regime change. In the U.S., a senior official told the Post that the Trump administration is considering taking military action in response to the crackdown on protesters. Trump said yesterday that Iran had contacted the U.S. to propose talks. Number 3. The Trump administration plans to send hundreds more federal officers to Minneapolis. Protests continued through the weekend after an ICE agent's fatal shooting last week of Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3. Yesterday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the administration will send more federal officers to the city. Trump officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance, remain adamant that Good was responsible for her own death. Democrats insist that an investigation, including local law enforcement, must be completed before drawing conclusions. Tensions are growing as the FBI, which took over the investigation, has continued to block Minnesota officials from participating in the inquiry. That has forced local authorities to conduct their own review. President Trump is trying to change how this year's midterm elections are conducted. That's number 4. In 2020, Trump pressured Republican county officials, state lawmakers, and members of Congress to find him votes after he lost his re-election bid. Now, he's seeking to change the rules before ballots are cast. Trump is using every tool he can find to try and influence the 2026 midterm elections and, if his party loses, sow doubt in their validity. His efforts include unprecedented demands that Republican state lawmakers redraw congressional districts, the prosecution of political opponents, and attempts to end the use of voting machines and mail ballots. Trump is openly fearful that a Congress controlled by Democrats could investigate him, impeach him, and block his agenda. A booming longevity industry is trying to sell you a longer life. That's our fifth story. The quest for eternal youth has turned into a big business. According to some estimates, as many as 800 longevity clinics have sprung up around the country to meet a consumer demand to live longer, healthier lives. They're offering all kinds of treatments involving lasers, infusions of special molecules, therapies to remove heavy metals from the body, and more. Some clinics are offering something called Young Plasma Exchange. That's a therapy in which you replace your blood plasma with that of a young donor. These kinds of treatments don't tend to be backed up with reliable studies, and critics say anti-aging clinics can promote unsafe protocols and exaggerate the benefits of their treatments. Nevertheless, longevity medicine investors and advocates are ramping up their lobbying efforts in Washington, D.C. They want federal approval for their treatments and for the government to recognize aging as something that is treatable. Number 6. Decades of data show what jobs have grown and declined the fastest. The Post's Department of Data dove into the Census Bureau's current population survey to see how jobs have changed since 1969. It found that for the last of the silent generation and the first of the baby boomers, the fastest growing job for the 40 years of their working lives was computer systems analyst. For most millennials, the fastest growing job has been app developer. At other times in the past few decades, construction workers and customer service representatives have each had their moment as the fastest-growing job. Secretaries and administrative assistants, on the other hand, have been struggling. Beginning with the arrival of the personal computer in the early 1980s, the secretary's slump has quietly been one of the defining labor market trends of our lifetime. You can look up the fastest growing and declining jobs of your working years at the link in our newsletter today. And at number 7. One Battle After Another and Hamnet won the top prizes at last night's Golden Globes ceremony. The Golden Globes always leaves us with a clearer vision of the Oscars' Best Picture contest. This year, it looks like a toss-up between two movies. Hamnet, a heart-wrenching tale about Shakespeare's family, won Best Drama. The action thriller One Battle After Another snagged Best Comedy. And Teyana Taylor won her first Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in that movie.
To my brown sisters and little brown girls watching tonight, our softness is not a liability. Our depth is not too much. Our light does not need permission to shine. We belong in every room we walk into. Our voices matter and our dreams deserve space. Thank you so much, everybody.
Meanwhile, Timothée Chalamet emerged as an Oscars frontrunner. He won Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy for his role in the ping-pong movie Marty Supreme.
My dad instilled in me a spirit of gratitude growing up. Always be grateful for what you have. It's allowed me to leave this ceremony in the past empty-handed, my head held high, grateful just to be here. But I'd be lying if I didn't say those moments didn't make this moment that much sweeter.
You can find all the winners, our highlights from the ceremony, and most importantly, our list of the best-dressed celebrities in our newsletter today. All right, you're all caught up. I keep mentioning our newsletter. If that has you scratching your head, let me tell you about it. The 7 Morning Briefing is where you can find links to all the stories I talk about here on the podcast and much, much more. It's totally free and delivered to your inbox early every weekday morning. You can find it by following the link in the show notes of today's episode, or just Google the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.